Hello viewers, this is Rishabh Bhatnagar and you're watching NDTV Profit. I'm at the offices of Innovaccer. This is a health tech unicorn that is aiming to digitize and unify health records and as a result deliver better healthcare. Thank you so much, Abhinav Shashank. He joins us. He's the CEO and co-founder. Thank you so much for taking the time out. Abhinav, just to lay the ground for our viewers, firstly, explain to me, like I'm 5 years old, what Innovaccer does.
No, absolutely. Firstly, thank you so much, Rishabh, for doing this. At the core of what we do is we think like healthcare delivery is going to go through like a massive transformation over the next like 5 to 10 years. Today, a lot of healthcare is treating a patient when they're sick, while like modern day healthcare is going to transform towards keeping people more healthy. So there are going to be devices, like we are all wearing like smart devices. There are going to be much more digital ways of keeping people healthy. So the enabling technology for healthcare of the future just does not exist today. So more and more countries are moving towards this proactive way of delivering care where like we want to keep people healthy and not like treat them when they're sick. And I think like the enabling technology of that is what we sort of like end up providing.
Super interesting. Like you said, a lot of countries are moving towards this. Most of your revenue comes from the US, right? Larger hospital chains there have adopted you. What do you see in terms of revenue mix going forward for Innovaccer? Do you see newer geographies? Where does India lie in all of this?
Right. So today, 100% of our revenue is the US. And I think given half of world's healthcare expenditure is the US, I think like a large majority of our revenue is always going to be the US. But that mix is evolving. We are increasingly becoming like a global organization. We've already set up like offices in Middle East. We're trying to do some work here like in India, but it's very experimental and like early stages in India. But we are trying to be like more of a global organization over the next few years. We're thinking about Europe like in the next couple of years. But today, 100% of it is in the US, and maybe like 10 to 15% of it is going to be like more global over the next couple of years.
Interesting. Abhinav, speaking about India, unifying health records is what the government is also moving towards with the National Health Mission. You have the UHI coming up, which is the Unified Health Interface. Do you see what you do tying in with what the government is also sort of enabling?
I think the government has been very, very proactive in thinking about these things. Frankly, the US and all other like major economies went through this pain of deploying electronic health records, and there were no standards, and then they had to like replace technology. So it was investments in multiple phases of replacing technology that most emerged economies have basically like gone through. So I think the government's proactive nature of like thinking about setting up standards like really upfront and really thinking through like some of these things and how information exchange is going to happen, how insurance models are going to work it's commendable, like how they're sort of really thinking about it. And we think like we're hopeful that we'll sort of like end up playing some role in partnering with the government here on some of those initiatives. But the pace at which the Indian government is moving on technology adoption and technology-driven healthcare is just like, I don't think like any other country is moving at that pace.
Yeah, super interesting. Abhinav, next moving on to a bit of the financials. You are on the path to profitability. Could you give our viewers an idea of the sort of revenues, the scale you're at, and also what the path looks like?
We'll be a couple of $100 million in ARR end of this year, and like we'll be profitable in the coming 2 quarters. So I think we've had like a really strong growth trajectory. We are one of the fastest growing vertical software companies globally at this point, like at scale. So I think we think that like growth should continue over the next multiple years and hopefully like decade to sort of come, and then like we should be like a fairly profitable business as well.
Right. Abhinav, also a lot of companies, a lot of tech companies are again going public in India. What does your path to an IPO look like? What is the sort of metric you gauge when Innovaccer is ready for an IPO? Is it consecutive quarters of profitability, or is it a certain revenue scale that you look at? And also, now that we're talking about an IPO, would it be possibly in India or in the US?
So I think we are in no hurry to go public. Like we have, I think, like a lot of cash on our balance sheet today. We think like we can really support growth for multiple years. We also have like some of the world's leading investors as on the cap table. So we are in no hurry to go public. In general, we think it will, given the global nature of the business, it will basically be like a US IPO, but like that is something that the board needs to, like, I think, consider, and we don't really know like the answer to that today.
Lastly, Abhinav, a lot of Indian startups domiciled abroad are coming back. There's a reverse flipping sort of a trend happening. You are one of the potential candidates for that. Is that something that is on the cards?
I think like for a lot of companies who have consumer bases like in India, it makes sense for them to really have their domicile here. We have a large center here. We have 1,000+ people here, and we are a very global organization, very flat organization that way as well. So in terms of structuring the business, I think we are always going to be a global like business. So whether we flip or not, again, I don't think like that's likely for us. But again, this is something that the board needs to like think through and really decide and opine on like over the next maybe like a year or so.
Okay. One last question. What do you see in terms of what do you ask for from the government, right? In terms of tech support, in terms of an enabling environment, what do you see the government doing for Innovaccer?
I think like we are very eager to basically collaborate, like as you said, like I think on various themes. Like we think we have the leading healthcare technology platform on cloud today that exists globally, right? Like Class, Gartner, everyone who basically rates us like in that space thinks of us as the #1 platform globally. So I think like we have the opportunity to really like I think do a lot of things with the government of India like at national scale today, and we'd be like I think like more than delighted to sort of like partner with that. So how does that work is hard for startups in general to like I think like figure out, and we are figuring our path to that, and hopefully like I think like we get to partner with the government, and given how progressive they are, like I think like that would sort of like.
Fair enough. Thank you so much, Abhinav. Thanks for taking time out.